Hi guys, we're gonna try Green Chef, and tonight we're having roasted sausages and sauerkraut. This is how your Green Chef meals arrive. If you buy the serving for 2, you'll get a small package of your protein and then the paper bag, which contains all of the vegetables, seasonings, and sauces. So in here we are gonna have some kale, some nuts, some mushrooms, some cabbage, some sauerkraut, there's even some cheese, a sauce, and a onion. And that's gonna be the exact same thing that's in this bag. We're buying meals that serves 4. We like to make enough to eat tonight, me and my husband, and then also have enough for our lunches the next day, which we pack up after dinner. And that's been working out really, really well for us. And Green Chef really does focus on doing a lot of things organic, and so if you ever receive something that maybe was not organic, they kind of let you know, like this card's in here saying, hey, these onions are conventional, meaning not organic. And I think that's okay because the onions are grown under the ground and they have the protective skin on them, so not as worried about that. When you get your Green Chef meal, it comes with this awesome card that shows you what it's supposed to look like, which is helpful. All the ingredients, so if you want to try to recreate it later on your own, I guess you could. I'm planning to do that with some of the meals. And then on the back, step-by-step instructions. So the most important thing here is to just start with step 1 and follow it along. And in this one, we are going to preheat the oven to 350. And then you do need to wash all the produce you get in your Green Chef kit. So I'm gonna work on washing the kale, cabbage, the mushrooms, and kind of just prepping the produce and getting that ready according to step 1 of our card. What I like to do is I like to hold my kale after it's washed by this tough stem and then kind of pull the leaf off the stem. And that's the part I'm gonna throw away. Usually it just kind of comes off. And then you get, obviously you don't want these really tough stems in your meal. That won't be easy to eat. And I know it looks like a lot of kale, but trust me, it kind of cooks down a little bit and we're gonna chop it up really fine. So it's going to really be a lot less volume once we get to our finished product. So just go with it, use all the kale they give you. And they use kale in a lot of the meals I've found, so these steps you'll probably use over and over again. And then to chop up the kale, I'd like to kind of like ball it up and then watch your fingers, obviously. I'm keeping my fingers curled in to reduce the chance of getting any cuts or making any contact with my fingers. And then I also kind of like to go the opposite direction. Again, just getting these cut down as far as we can. Just real small, easy to chew, easy to cook, quick to cook pieces. Okay, that looks pretty good. So I'm just gonna kind of pile the kale up there. And the next step are to chop the cabbage. Just gonna give these guys a real nice little chop here. This is the cabbage. It says to roughly chop the walnuts, but honestly, they're chopped plenty fine. So what I'm gonna do is cut open their little bags, set them aside. They're perfect the way they are, in my opinion. And then we're gonna deal with the cremini mushrooms. So on the creminis, it says just to wipe them with a damp paper towel. So I'm gonna get those cleaned up real quick and on the chopping board. And it looks like we halve or quarter them, depending on how big they are. Okay, so I've got my mushrooms out. Time to pop off all their stems. We just started getting Green Chef about, I don't know, a month or so ago. I have to say, as a working mom, these have made a big difference. I look forward to the nights we have a Green Chef meal to make, and I get to not have to think about what's for dinner that night. I don't know about you, but that is sometimes the hardest part of dinner, is the thinking of what's for dinner. Once I have an idea, it's relatively easy, but coming up with the ideas starts getting more and more difficult. So I appreciate the fact that now we're doing this for 2 nights out of the week. And I don't have to, on those 2 nights, even worry about what we're having. I've already decided it like weeks in advance, and it shows up, and that's what we're having. And so far, we have really not been disappointed. And some of the meals are quite exceptionally tasty. They've all been delicious. Some of them are just exceptionally so. And we'll see how this one is. Okay, all the mushrooms are chopped. And then some onion, and I'll be honest with you, you get 2 because I did the meal for 4, and I only need, I think, the smaller one. And you only use half of it for the 2-person meal, so I'm gonna use all of this smaller one for our 4-person meal. So the first dish, or the first component of this meal, is a kale and cabbage slaw. Now, knowing that it's going to be served raw, I kind of want to cut it down even a little bit more so it's really bite-sized. Oven's preheated, so it'll be waiting for us. That's good, I like that. Okay, I'm gonna say that's good enough. I know if I'm cooking it, I don't mind them being a little bigger because they're gonna wilt down a little bit. But if this is gonna be eaten raw, I want it really fine. And I'd say it is. So it says to put all of the kale in a bowl along with the cabbage. I may give the cabbage one more quick chop as well, because again, I want this diced up real fine if I'm eating it raw. This just adds a nice crunchy element to this cold slaw, I imagine. All right, in it goes. Okay. And then it says to add, where did the scissors go? Here they are. To add some of the 2 tablespoons, so 4 tablespoons, since I am doing a double batch. So let's go with, that's 1, 2, 3, that's probably about 4. And it says to also season it with salt and pepper, which we'll probably need on something else. I'm just gonna bring it over. Let's just go ahead and put a fair amount of fresh cracked pepper, and then a fair amount of salt. Again, I've got a double batch here. And then I'm gonna use some tongs and give this a turn. And if I feel like it needs it, I might add some apple cider vinegar to just kind of dress the greens here just a little bit more, thin out that mustard vinaigrette. I think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna use apple cider vinegar. Where is the apple cider vinegar? Right here. I think the apple will go really, the apple flavor will go really good with the mustard vinaigrette. So let's just toss. Plus, we're kind of a fan of vinegars in general, so I think everybody here will love it. Okay, So I think that's done. Let's see. Yep. And now it's about to time to move over to the stove, to the cooktop, and move on to the cooking portion. Okay, so time to cook. Preheated my cast iron skillet with a little bit of oil, and I've got the sausages in, getting brown. They're then gonna get transferred to this cookie sheet with foil and get popped into the oven. Meanwhile, knowing that this is just sausage, I'm not a huge fan of sausage. Maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't. But I thought, why don't I also cook some chicken breast in the oven at the same time, kind of just lining each side separately with foil. I just seasoned it with some really basic things. Here's an up close of those sausages that are in the cast iron skillet getting browned. I'm using a splatter screen. These are those chicken breasts that I season with just some really basic seasoning: paprika, garlic salt, pepper, some parsley flakes. That's the 2 foil sections I made. I'm going to place the sausage on that back piece of foil. Here is the slaw, which is the kale, the cabbage, and the dressing that was in the Green Chef kit. My mushrooms, onions, and here are some, this is that vinaigrette that's on the slaw, and it's really, really quite good. Back to the sausages. Again, you're not trying to totally cook them on the cooktop. You're going to just brown them in the cooktop and then place them on a cookie sheet and get them in the preheated oven. Okay, so I've got the sausages browned, the chicken breast seasoned and oiled and ready to go in a 350 oven. It is time to move on to sauteing the mushrooms and the onions. That would be my husband's favorite part of the meal probably. And to do that, we're gonna need to put a couple tablespoons of butter into the skillet that we cook the sausages in. And then also a little bit of cooking oil, and at this point I'm going to use olive oil instead of avocado, but it still has residual oil from the sausages, so I'm not going to put too much. And then we are going to put all of our, I don't know if you want to move around, mushrooms and onions. Season those with salt and pepper, and then they just need to just do their thing for a few minutes. Time to watch. Kind of 12 minutes until fully cooked. Taking a quick peek in at the sausages and chicken just to see if they're about done. Looking good, not done. Need 155 for pork sausages. Okay, it says to put the Swiss cheese over the top of the mushrooms and onion. Oh, that's a blooper reel.
No, we got the cleanup crew already here.
Oh no! Oh, they were gonna get cheese. All right, so we've got a fair amount of cheese. And then this goes into the oven to just melt the cheese for a few minutes. And here's a quick look at the sausages all done out of the oven. And here we have our finished onions, mushrooms with melty cheese. Okay, it is time. We're supposed to slice some of the sausages. All right, time to plate up. We've got the sauteed mushrooms, onions with melted cheese on top. That goes on the bottom. Then on top of that, you add your sliced sausage. And I have to say, I actually really like the sausage, and I'm not usually a huge sausage fan, so kudos to Green Chef for picking out a good sausage. On top of that goes the pre-packaged and enclosed sauerkraut. You toss in the chopped nuts and add a little more dressing to the kale and cabbage slaw, and that goes on the side.
Lastly, you put a little bit more of that cider mustard vinaigrette that comes pre-packaged in the Green Chef kit. I have to say, one of the best parts of these Green Chef kits are the sauces. They have been phenomenal, and this one was no different. Here is that recipe card that you get with your kit, and my husband says, tasty. He loved this meal. This was one of our favorites. Stuart had to test it with me. He's always asking for a little nibble. He gets a little bite of sausage too, of course. He loved it. 2 thumbs up from the Ogle family. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you're enjoying your Green Chef meals.